the white power structure never wants to bring up slavery. This is why they want slavery cut. Stop talking about slavery. You know why? Because if you really want to talk about the source of black-white inequality, you have to go to slavery. You want to talk about the source of police killings in the black community, you got to go back to the slave patrols, which were the original police, keeping Negroes on the plantation and making sure they didn't run away from it. That's the original police force. Every problem we have in America, every problem we have in the Caribbean, every problem we have in Africa, Central and South America, Canada, the UK, throughout Europe and Australia, originated in slavery and colonization. But the white man doesn't like to go beyond 50 years. If you notice, his conversations are always about what's happening now. He never ties it to history. Because if you tie your problems to history, he's the cause of all your problems. So they'll talk about brothers selling drugs. They'll talk about black men killing each other. But what about the fact that the Irish used to kill each other? The Jews used to kill each other. You understand me? The Italians used to kill each other until the white man did what? He gave the Jews the civil service government jobs in the city centers. He gave the Italians the fire departments in the city centers, black community, and he gave the Irish the police department. He gave them an economic stimulus package to come into our neighborhood and kick our ass and let our homes burn down and take all the government jobs. And that's how the Jews, the Irish, and the Italians was able to stop gang banging and live a decent middle-class white life. All we did was step into the underworld that the Jews, Irish, and Italians left us. And this is why people have to know their political history, because these white folks act like you caused them problems. Even with ghettos, the Federal Housing Authority created the ghettos. They created the damn ghettos. They gave white people loans to move out into the suburbs. Poor white people were able to escape to the suburbs on an FHA loan. When you tried to get one, you wanted to go to the suburbs too. They told you, no, you ain't got the credit. You ain't qualified.
This is the very reason why they don't like to talk about the past. And there's a saying that if you don't know your past, you can't forge a new course for a new future. Your past is part of you. You may know it, not to dwell on it, but you know it so that you can know how to navigate the new path that you're about to take. And they will tell you, forget about the path. We don't need to settle the black. We don't need the reparation. We don't need much more than the reparation. The question is, what was done to the other contemporaries that were going through a lot of violence and a lot of stuff that were unthinkable? Guess what they did? They were all settled. The video said it all. The video says it all. You've watched it, you've listened to it. And that is how they're able to move on and chart a new course for themselves. The question is, what was done to the black people? Nothing. You know why they didn't do anything? Because they know that if platforms, opportunities, privilege were given to the black man, it's going to rise above them. And that is their greatest fear. They know who you are. They know that you are great. With or without their reparation, without their platform, they are scared that you are a great man and that you've ruled kingdoms. You are their king. Let me say it again. You are their king and queens. And that is why they don't like to talk about anything that has to do with where you are coming from as a black man. Therefore, know today that you are born to be great. You are great. Greatness personified. Thank you, guys.
The reason why it seems like not a lot of people even heard about Sudan and even care about Sudan is not just because Sudan is an obscure place to a lot of people. Most people probably have never even heard of this place, and let alone that it exists in Africa. But when I look at how history is taught, especially world history, and especially the history of the African continent as a whole, the East African slave trade and the East African conquering by the Arabs is not taught about in Western schools. And it seems like a shock to hear about all the things that are happening, to hear about all the people that have been killed, because you have never even been exposed to the historical fact that East Africa was enslaved by Arab people. And for longer, and just before the transatlantic slave trade. See, a lot of our eyes have always been on West Africa and the transatlantic slave trade by the Europeans, but the history is basically hidden from us from what happened in East Africa. And this history is so vitally important in understanding the broader scope of world history because Africa, as the entire continent, the history of the continent has been stripped from the curriculum of other nations. Thus, it is hard for people to empathize with Africa as a whole, not just because of racism, but because they have never been exposed to its history at all. Because this conflict in Sudan hasn't just been happening this year. I've talked about this before. Sudan has been pillaged for generations, for thousands of years. Sudan is a part of the greater empire of Kemet. Sudan, North and South Sudan, used to be called Nubia, and Nubia was vitally important to the Kemetic Empire. And when the Arabs invaded Africa, Nubia was a part of the continent in which they took a lot of slaves from. You can go watch a whole lot of videos about the East African slave trade, but this period in history is vitally important for you to understand what has been going on the African continent for thousands of years, not just with the Europeans, but now with another player, the Arabs. And so, in this modern day, now you are seeing the unraveling of the things that have been put in front of your eyes, the veil that has been put in front of your eyes, like the UAE. Everybody wants to go to Dubai and Abu Dhabi to go experience luxury and go experience elegance and extravagance, but not ever asking how do they get those things if they're in the desert. How did you get those things if you're in the desert where your primary resource is oil? Nobody ever talked about your gold reserves. Nobody ever talked about your mineral reserves. Nobody ever talked about any of that, your diamonds or any of that, because it doesn't exist. So how do you get that, and where do you get it from? And in conflicts like this, Africa, the continent as a whole, does not manufacture weapons on a mass scale. Ask yourself where they're getting these weapons from if Africa does not produce weapons on a mass scale. Most of their weapons are imported.
Have you thought about this? A lot of Africans don't know their history. They're not taught in school. They're not mentioned at all. Have you thought about it? Do you also know the Sudan that we have today? Someone said they're the real Egyptians. And I'm not doubting the Nubians. I'm not doubting it. Because the Egyptians you have today has been infiltrated. Fact. Because Egypt, the Egyptians that we know that was recorded even in the scripture, they are blacks, they are Nubians, black people. And that is why a lot is going on right now in that region of the world. And that is why the African history has been stolen and catered away. The history is stolen, university is stolen, every artifact stolen. But guess what? Your DNA is not stolen. It can't be taken away. They try to mix and make sure that we are all diluted, but they can't help it because the black gene, the black blood is so strong. It gives back to them, and them cannot be us because we are the blessed of the Creator who created every man. The black blood is blessed, and when they try to mix, we separate ourselves by saying we will give back to you, but you can give back to us. We are undiluted, we are unconquered. You may take our university, take our artifact, take our development, take our histories, but guess what? You can't take the blood away. The blood is the blood. That is what gives back to everything. The modernization of technology, history, genesis of technology came from the black race. And this is what I want you to know today and walk in this reality. Thank you for staying tuned. If you love this great content, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share. Let this information go everywhere. Let them know that now we know who we are and it's our time to rise again. Thank you. Until I come your way again, stay in peace, stay in love. You are too important to be lost. Bye-bye.